Let's settle this right now. In 2023, which smartphone gives you the best battery life? We've got 7 phones here: the brand new Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, the slightly smaller Galaxy S23 Plus, Apple's iPhone 14 Pro Max, and the Google Pixel 7 Pro. And also, just for context, I've added in last year's Galaxy S22 Ultra, the Galaxy S22 Plus, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So the idea is to see not only if Samsung can finally beat the iPhone 14 Pro Max, but how much it has improved from last year. Oh, and did you notice that the new Galaxy S23 Ultra has the same battery size as before, but the Plus model has a larger battery this year? That's interesting. So onto the test. To make sure we have the same conditions, we have turned the brightness on all phones to the same level. So for this first test, if a phone gets around 12 to 13 hours, that's barely okay. If it can get around 14 to 15 hours, that's already good. If it gets 16 hours or more, it's very good. And if it scores more than 18 hours, this is straight up amazing. So the S23 Ultra has the same battery size as the S22 Ultra, but Samsung says the battery life has improved significantly by 30 or 40% depending on your usage. And this is the first time Samsung uses a Snapdragon chip for all S23 Ultra models. And it just might be the game changer for battery life. So if the S23 Ultra scores well here, this has got to be due to the new chip. Alright, so we'll now fast forward the test and just show you the results that we've got. Keep in mind that the video you see is not the actual test run, but a placeholder, and we have run the actual test earlier, and since it takes so long, we cannot show you the full run. So zipping forward, we finally see the first phone tap out here, and that is the Galaxy S22 Ultra. It scores just 13 hours and 17 minutes, so we flip it over and keep on going. And we have to wait a bit until next we see the black screen on the Pixel 7 Pro, and the time on the clock is 14 hours and 19 minutes. So this is now getting into the good battery life category, and the Pixel lasts a full hour more than the S22 Ultra. Let's keep on going, zipping forward again until now the S22 Plus dies too, and its score is nearly 1 hour higher than the Pixel. Now we wish we had a logical explanation about why the Plus scores more than the Ultra, but we don't. That's just the result that we got. So now we are entering the solid battery life territory with phones that score more than 16 hours, and the first phone here is the new Galaxy S23 Plus, which is just done now and ends this test with more than an hour on top of its predecessor. This is a noticeable improvement for Samsung. So right now we have 3 phones left, so let's see if the new S23 Ultra can actually beat the iPhones. So fast forward once again, and the first one to die here is the iPhone 13 Pro Max with a score of the whopping 18 hours and 52 minutes. Anything above 18 hours is amazing, and this one hits nearly 19 hours. So it's between the new S23 Ultra and the iPhone 14 Pro Max, but finally we see the S23 Ultra bites the dust first, and it scores just 5 minutes more than the 13 Pro Max, while the new iPhone 14 Pro Max lasts a bit more and finishes with a score of 19 hours and 5 minutes. So wow, for the first time in a long while, we have a Samsung phone with nearly the same battery score as the Pro Max series. These results are extremely close. And that's indeed great news for Samsung users. And let us once again recap the scores of this first round of battery testing in a chart right here. Alright, next up we have all 7 phones once again lined up, fully charged and ready to go, and this time we have our YouTube video test. Now this is my favorite test because I have a bit of an addiction problem with YouTube, so if you have the same issue, keep on watching to see the results. So for this test, scores below 6 hours are not good, anything above 6 hours is decent, 7 hours is good, 8 hours is solid, and more than 9 hours is great. And if you want to be even above great, an easy way to do that is to subscribe to our channel here, PhoneArena, as we've got more exciting videos on the way. Alright, once again we fast forward this test until one of the phones taps out, and the first one to do that here is actually the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Last year's Ultra scored just 7 hours and 27 minutes, which is just good, but not really great. So let's keep on going and see how the other phones are doing. And the next phone to die on this test is the new Galaxy S23 Plus. It scores 8 hours and 15 minutes. This is a solid score, so let's flip it over, and just minutes after it's done, the older Galaxy S22 Plus also dies with only 3 minutes more. So we should say that scores do vary a bit between runs, so it could have gone either way here. Now let's keep things moving, and the next phone to show the black screen here is the Galaxy S23 Ultra. The S23 Ultra scores 8 hours and 54 minutes, just shy of 9 hours, so this falls into the great battery life category and once again confirms that the new Ultra is a huge improvement in battery life. So we're left with 3 phones, and finally the next one to tap out is the Google Pixel 7 Pro with 9 hours and 39 minutes on the clock, a solid margin over the Galaxy, and a much better showing for the Pixel on this second test. So finally we have the 2 Pro Max iPhones. The iPhone 13 Pro Max finishes this test with 10 hours and 23 minutes, beating the Android phones for yet another year. But it is the newer iPhone 14 Pro Max that wins this comparison once again with a final score of 11 hours sharp. So let's recap the scores from just this YouTube video test once again in a chart. Last year's Galaxy S22 Ultra died first, and the S23 Ultra finishes at the 4th place, just shy of the Pixel, but it's the iPhones that once again dominate the battery charts. Okay, now let's kind of do a final overview of all the phones here. So at 7th place we have the Galaxy S22 Plus, which scored below the average on the browsing test but was better for video. At 6th position we have the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Last year's flagship scored just fine on the browsing test, but didn't do so good on the YouTube test. At number 5 we have the Google Pixel 7 Pro. Google's new flagship was a bit of a mixed bag in our testing. It didn't impress us in the web browsing test, but did pretty good for YouTube playback. At number 4 we have the new Galaxy S23 Plus. This phone might just go extinct next year, as the Plus models are not selling very well for Samsung, but this new model has got solid battery life thanks to that new chip and its larger battery. And next, at number 3 we have the new Galaxy S23 Ultra. We did not expect a big improvement, but it surprised us and scored exceptionally well in our browsing test, and also had a solid score on the second test. So it's not just better than before. The new Galaxy is finally in that tier of phones with pro level battery life. Next, at number 2 we have last year's iPhone 13 Pro Max. This phone might be old, but it still got it when it comes to battery life. And finally the winner is the new iPhone 14 Pro Max. But to be honest, the 13 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max are very similar, so we cannot single out just this one latest model alone. It's the last 2 iPhones that really have set a kind of a new standard for battery life that other phones have yet to match, and while the new Galaxy is close, it's not quite there just yet. And to see if the S23 Ultra has a better camera than the iPhone, that video is right over here. And for more cool tech videos, check out these other clips too. And thanks for sticking until the end. My name is Vic, this is PhoneArena, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.